Let's talk a little bit about conspiracy theories and fear mongering and using fear as a tool to influence. We're going to look at one of the usual suspects, Tulsi Gabbard, but we're also going to look at a guy named I hesitate. Dr. John Campbell, not a medical doctor, and relevantly not a medical doctor. In a second segment, this may surprise some of you, but we will get to that. Let's start with, and the theme here is using fear and irritating and scaring people, agitating and scaring people. Tulsi Gabbard was on Fox News's The Five yesterday, and Tulsi, I know that the word is now in the lexicon, sanctimoniously bemoaned the use of fear to manipulate people. And of course, Tulsi herself is one of the people who has used fear to manipulate people, particularly since coming out against the Democratic Party and becoming an anti-vaccine, anti-trans spokesperson of sorts. So let's start, as it makes sense to do, listening to what Gabbard herself said, and then we'll talk about why it's particularly rich that she make this claim.
Does anybody ever get held for any wrongdoing?
It's frightening that the answer to that is probably no at this point. They can continue to lie. One of the things that I took away from the statement that Gorsuch wrote was fear. That he used COVID as the example, but really what we know throughout history, going back to the Cold War and the post 9/11, now this new Cold War, is that when we have people in positions of power fomenting fear, it makes it easier for them to take away our freedoms. And so the big warning signal, kind of the red alert for everyone, is as soon as you start to see people in power overhyping a situation or a threat, fomenting fear, we have to go back and remember Benjamin Franklin's famous quote, right? That those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety and security deserve neither security nor liberty.
Wow.
Well said.
Poignant words from Tulsi Gabbard. Now, of course, Tulsi has done a campaign for a while now, portraying herself as the victim of the fear mongering by the Democratic establishment, where people said, oh, Tulsi's a wolf in sheep's clothing, or blah, 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 blah. Tulsi is one of the great practitioners of fear mongering to influence and manipulate herself, and she uses the fear mongering as a tool to advance her interests and her ambitions. She wants to be seen, and unfortunately, some fell for it and saw her as this principled anti-war activist who will always expose the lies of the fear mongers and the warmongers. But in reality, she has turned out to be, and I want to be accurate, a pro-authoritarian, conspiratorial fear-mongerer who actually has fomented the very fear and division among Americans that she pretends to go after. When she has called Democratic leaders warmongers who will get us into whether it's World War IV or V or nuclear Armageddon, that was fear-mongering that made no sense and was not factually based in any way. Check out her appearance on the Joe Rogan program. Rather than ever addressing the substantive criticisms of her foreign policy views or explain why did you meet with Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad in 2017, she simply uses fear to portray herself as this persecuted, almost whistleblower who was exposing the corruption of the establishment. And if people ask too many questions about why she met with that dictator, then next thing you know, it'll be 1984. She has said that whistleblowers and dissenters were being silenced by the government, and that therefore we all need to worry about eroding democracy and freedom, with no real substantive criticism of the way that the Trump administration single-handedly made a free press the enemy of the people, which actually is something that we should be afraid of. And of course, it's always without specifics about who is it exactly that's doing any of this stuff. And there's so many examples. In October of 2022, she posted a video on Instagram which accused the Democratic Party of stoking anti-white racism and undermining law enforcement, when the reality is that police have not been defunded and that the so-called divisive agenda of Democrats on race, it's mostly a reaction to the outrageous anti-woke stuff from the right. But that's not what she tells you. She just makes you afraid of the Democrats and the things that they're going to do. And we could go on. You know, when she spoke at CPAC, she fear-mongered about how the Biden vaccine mandates and so-called lockdowns were attacks on civil liberties and personal freedoms, the likes of which we will never recover from, and it will be a slippery slope into wokeistan or whatever, ignoring the public health benefits, ignoring scientific evidence and all these things. She wants to sanctimoniously go after those who use fear when it's hard to imagine someone who has used fear more than Tulsi herself. So there's that. Let's now go to another sort of example of this. Dr. John Campbell.